It's time for Vendridos. Let's get into the story. Alright, Dark Dead Vengeance. Within the concrete jungle of high-rise buildings, the people hustled and bustled among the sleepless city lights. However, that was a long time ago. Darkness that shrouded the sky above turned the world into one that would never see morning come again. And with the darkness came monsters that threatened the peace of the city. The Vendread. The Vendread started as corpses that crawled out of their graves, except their bodies had transformed into something grotesque. Without a single shred of their memories from their past life or any will of their own, they would wander the streets at night and attack any living human or animal in their path guided only by their instinct. No firearm, tank, or any sort of modern weaponry could defeat these creatures. What's worse, anyone in anything... Hang on a second, a tank couldn't... You take a tank, a modern frickin' Panzerwehr, and just point the cannon at this and just fire a cannon. That doesn't stop, like, Vendread hound hordes? Come on, dude. What's worse, anyone in anything that was unfortunate enough to become a victim of a Vendread would become one themselves. The Vendread threat was like a match thrown into a forest, spreading fear like an uncontrollable blaze. As the undead continued to rapidly multiply, those remaining of flesh and blood scrambled fruitlessly for a solution. The Vendread horde soon made their way to the hastily built wall that served as the sole line of defense for the living. Among them, was a young man who had also lost his life to the undead. He was no different from the other Vendreads, wandering the same shrouded city with the same mindlessness. But as luck would have it, one day as the young man continued to drift about mindlessly, he came across a young woman who had been carried off by the Vendreads. His mind had already long faded, or it should have. But as his eye caught the locket that hung from her neck, something stirred within him. Memories of his past life began to flood into his head in a great, crashing wave. He knew the woman with the pendant before him. He had once been the love of his life. His mind twisted and turned with a desperate sadness as he realized that his love was no longer of this world. Sadness boiled into a seething rage, and hatred for the Vendreads robbed her of her life. As his mind dragged itself out from the bogs of its undead depths, a flame of hatred ignited his heart. The violent burst of emotion tore his body apart with unbearable pain as it began to transform and rebuild itself into something much stronger. When the transformation ended, the man steadied his uneven breath and stood up. He took the locket and hung it around his neck so he could keep the memory of his beloved close by. Then he spoke into the silent night. I swear I will vanquish every last one of these walking corpses if it's the last thing I'll do! And thus the new agent of vengeance was born. He was the Vendread who would hunt the Vendreads. Revendread Slayer. This was the beginning of the Lone Revenger's fierce battle. Freaking base, oh, that's so wicked and cool. Holy crap, dude. Even in that day, the living struggled bravely from within the city wall to keep alive. The Vendread horde that pursued the living pushed against the barrier like crashing waves and showed no sign of ever stopping. Their numbers seemed to only be going up, too. They continued to groan and wail deep into the night, day after day. The terror was too much. The citizens were finding it harder and harder to keep sane under these horrific circumstances. But then a single shadow loomed over the horde. The shadow darted forth and cut down a Vendread with a single swoop, quick as lightning. But he didn't stop there. Any Vendread that dare stand in his way would be stabbed, hit, kicked, knocked. They would have their limbs and rotting flesh torn, twisted, ripped from their bodies. Remember that a tank couldn't deal with this, by the way. Just remember, a tank couldn't deal with this. And once the shadow had finished hunting down every last walking corpse that plagued the city wall, it disappeared back into the darkness as quickly as it appeared, not even sparing a single moment to look back at the crowd he had just saved. But the Revendread Slayer was not interested in being a hero. All he wanted was revenge, and he would not stop at anything to destroy any Vendread that entered his line of sight. Regardless of intentions, the fact was that he had swooped onto the scenes like a bolt from the blue and defeated all the Vendreads. To the survivors, he was their single ray of hope. Word of the mysterious undead hunter began to spread quickly through the city. As the nights continued, he too continued his battles. The Vendreads weren't going to stand for being hunted down so mercilessly. With the carnage, the undead began to change. Up until now, the humans and animals that turned into Vendreads had stayed about the same physical size as they had been when they had passed. That was one of the main reasons the survivors had been able to keep the horde back with just their average human strength. Is this music new, by the way? I feel like we haven't had that music this tailored towards the stories yet. However, now that the Vendreads were being pursued by a relentless executor in the form of Revendred Slayer, they began to feel threatened. Some of them even began to merge with each other to create a bigger Vendred. Ugh. Few words could describe how grotesque it looked, and people began to name it after a certain multi-headed beast of legend. They called it the Vendred Chimera. The creature would threaten the safety of the people beyond the wall for many more nights. It possessed the powers and strengths of numerous Vendreads, and even the Slayer was beginning to have trouble fighting it. Every time they battled, the Slayer would only just manage to fight it off. He was never successful in completely silencing it. The more they fought, the more weaknesses were uncovered. Slayer found within Chimera there lay a core that governed all its action. He charged at the core and threw all his strength into it, destroying it. And finally, Chimera crumbled into a pile of rotting flesh and bone. At first, it seemed that the Slayer's do-or-die attack had ended things once and for all. With the agglomeration of animosity that was the Chimera, but the tragedy would only further unfold from here. The clash of the undead would only escalate further and further into something beyond human comprehension. All the survivors could do was pray that one day the Vendred would be vanquished and dawn would break once more over their city. Alright, well, time for Revendred Slayer combos. Whatever that means. Alright, what do we have here? Wow, it really is just Hound Horde Revenant Slayer. Okay, very cool. Let's get a loner duel on the go then. Okay, go for pre-prep. Let's add an Origin and a Slayer. Well, how does Knights work? It discards a card and adds a Vendred from deck to hand. Sure. And Re-Origin is target a face-up monster your opponent controls that has a level. Tribute it, and if you do special, a Vendred token. Tribute equal to the original token. While token special effects on the field, you cannot normal special except Vendreds. Cannot normal or special monsters except Vendreds. Right, okay. I think we're just gonna go with Gozuki and then chill. Oh. Wow, okay. There's a decent amount of stuff here. I guess we'll just dump Mizuki for now. Alright, we'll set Origin. And does this give attack? When your Vendred destroys monster by battle, you can banish Vendred. No, this is fine. Yeah, we'll just like chill on this for now. Oh, he's ritual summoning. This is actually adding the Chimera. That's insane. We're just setting and passing. Okay, end phase. Let's tribute. Yo, this trap is kind of broken. I feel like there isn't a lot to like send with this deck. Okay, let's dump one of the spells and let's add. Yeah, okay, so this is 4 + 3 into 6. Yeah, let's add you. All right, then we're gonna normal summon you. And let's do some damage first. Okay, that's fine, I guess. This guy has an effect. Destroyed, set to grave, special summon this card, banishment leaves a... Wow, okay, sure. Nice. This thing floats. Okay, main phase 2. Let's summon Slayer by using the token and the Revenants. And now we can banish any ritual he summons. And I guess we'll bring back this Mizuki. Rather, use Mizuki to bring back Unizombie. And just dump a card. Send another Mizuki. Vampire Sucker. Guess we could, like, draw a card. I kind of want to just keep these on this field for value right now. Let's do that. Alright, go ahead, Undead Synthetics. Okay, normal summon. Sure. Okay, so he's just going to chain banish to my banish, right? Oh, never mind. He's using Chimera, of course. Okay, what does Chimera actually do? We just summon this with anything. You can banish a zombie for game to get the activation. Quick effect. When a card effect is activated that would destroy a card, banish. This card is tributed or banished for a ritual summon monster. Yeah, okay, this doesn't do anything. Nice. Wait, did I misread that? It's the Revenant effect, right? Okay, sure. Okay. That's fine. We just chain, banish your guy. I guess they're evenly matched, haha. Whoa, call the haunted. Oh, yo. Hey, yo. This guy. Double summon? Huh? No, what are you doing? Wii Witch? That's horrible. That's garbage, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, that's a really bad play, my friend. Right, let's go Mizuki. Bring back Uni-Zombie. I can only attack with zombies this turn, yes. That's probably not a big deal. We can bring back like a Revenant, I guess, and then bring it back with the Mizuki off this Gozuki. I suppose. Discard add a Vendread monster from deck. See, this field spell only adds monsters. How do I get to... Is there a way to, like, search field spells? Ritual spells in this deck? Ritual summon card is sent to the grave, add a ritual spell. Okay, great. So, not really. Yep, Revenant Turbo. All right, battle phase. Wee Witch shuffle itself back. Poggers. Hey, guys, do you like my Slayer deck? Yeah, really good. After a long and bitter struggle, Revendread Slayer would finally destroy the Chimera. No one could predict that this defeat would only bring more dreadful threats. Full threats? One day, the Slayer felt a menacing presence like never before, overflowing with an unbating grudge. Immediately headed toward it, determined to find the source. He saw that the wall had been broken through, even though it had held up well against the Chimera. The wall and the scavenged armored vehicles that were taking the brunt of the attacks were destroyed, and countless were found slain. The Vendread horde had a different leader now. It was much larger than the Chimera. It was clad in armor. Enveloping it was a thick, ominous aura of resentment. It was Vendread Battlelord, and it had been born from the grudges all the Vendreads that the Slayer had defeated. The collective hunger for vengeance against Slayer had combined into a frightening force, and wherever the Battlelord went, it would leave a trail of death and destruction behind. It was one lone fighter's wish to eradicate the Vendread against the Horde's desire to crush their executor. Their rage came to a head, and thus another clash to the death began. The Battlelord's might was far more tremendous than the Slayer could ever have imagined. Not only could it absorb the surrounding Vendread, but also those who had lost their lives at the scene. Battlelord had a steady supply of fodder, and it only grew more powerful as time went on. No matter how strong Slayer's desire for revenge was, his blade stood no change against his foe. Minor spelling mistake. I win. He pushed and tried everything he could to gain the upper hand, but in the end, he was overwhelmed by the Battlelord's immense strength. Uh-oh, Battlelord's kinda buff. Revendread Slayer lay limp on the ground, wounded and battered like he was a ragdoll that had been flung aside. Battlelord picked up the small hunter in its enormous hand. And just as it had done to the other Vendreads and the fallen victims, it reached its other hand towards the Slayer's chest to absorb his powers. Slayer's consciousness was sinking into nothingness fast, but then the faint glint of his locket caught his eye. The tiny gleam was enough to remind him that his mission was not yet over. With conviction renewed, the flame in his heart lit up once more. No wound in his body could stop him now. Slayer mustered all the strength he had left, and right before the Battlelord could absorb his powers, he plunged his hand into the Vendread's chest and ripped out its core. Holding the core, Slayer began to feel a new surge of energy. His body was absorbing the hateful power the Battlelord had possessed. The tides were turning. With the Battlelord's powers flowing into the Slayer now, its body started to crumble. However, just as the Slayer began to think the fight was finally over, the core, struggling for survival, brushed against the Slayer's pendant with a stray hand. Battlelord's remains, along with the Vendreads that surrounded him, began to transform. They all began to take on the form of the woman that the Slayer cherished in his previous life. That single touch of the locket, the core had sensed the remaining dregs of the Slayer's love and sought to destroy his morale with it. The Slayer froze. Was this a dream? No, this was no dream. He shook his head, trying to remind himself that the love of his life was already gone. This was a nightmare trying to ensnare him. He balled his fists in anger. How dare these scum disgrace the memory of his beloved? As his burning rage surged and finally exploded, he found himself transforming into a new form with stronger powers. He had become Revendread Executor. Wait, is Battlelord called Vendread Battlelord? He's not Revendread Battlelord, right? Like, Revendread is Slayer. That's his thing, right? That's really cool. I didn't even notice. I actually didn't realize that Revendread and Vendread were different. Executor versus Battlelord. Or, not really Battlelord. Who is this going to be against? I honestly don't like starting... Do I give him a new hand? No, I think I just pass, and then I get more value out of the card destruction. Probably. Plus, like, setting this up turn 1 feels, like, really bad. Okay, that's fine. And draw. I think I want to hold this, right? I think we set this and then card destruction. We have spell. There we go. What does charge do? Send a zombie from hand or face up field to the grave and special Vendread from your deck. Ooh, kind of nice. You have a grave effect with core here. Banish one other zombie from your grave and special this, but banishment leaves the field. Vendread rituals using this card in the field gains the following effect. Your opponent can't target this with card effects. That's pretty broken. All right, let's start with you. Let's add Origin and Executor. Oh, we can only add this. Where's Executor? I guess Executor doesn't have what's it called in the name. Origin should summon from grave though, right? Any Vendread ritual from your hand or graveyard. Executor is always pretty based. What's Slayer's original effect again? Banish a zombie, this card gains attack. Banishing zombies, is that good? Not really, right? Unless it's Shinobi Necro. Let's just add an Executor, probably. Alright, we're gonna go charge here, dump the Slayer. We're gonna special summon Revenant from the deck, and we're gonna normal summon Houndtor. How many levels is that? 4, 3, 7? We're gonna get like, yeah, this is like, oh my god, we're gonna have like a billion effects here. Banish one of these. Bring this back. Normal this. Origin. Tribute the entire freaking field and make like the most chungus powerful boss monster ever made in humanity. Look at this. All 3 monsters for the Revendread Executor. Alright, this is a lot of stink in the tank here. So if he outs this, we're really fucked. Like the effect to activate. Okay, so we're gonna go Hound Horde. We're gonna banish a back row. We're gonna chain effect, why not? And we're gonna use Revenants. We're gonna banish another card. Alright. And this thing is untargetable. Alright, battle phase. Alright. Executor just has to stick. Hopefully that's gonna be enough. You can't target it. And it hits cards and banishes special summon guys. I think. Yes. Oh. Struggling, I see. Struggling, I see. Alright, activate the effect. We're gonna go Hound Horde. We're gonna banish the new set cards. We're gonna banish another monster. Huge! Alright, draw phase. Banish another back row. Huge! Wow. The pluses, baby. Okay, so unfortunately, I'm seeing that this deck seems to struggle with having a way to add ritual spells. Is kind of an issue. Here, we got Strigs, we got Core, card battled, you can draw a card, discard a card. Some of these are just so bad, dude. Holy crap. Special summon. Normal summon. I think Levier could be kind of cool in this deck. Guess we'll just do the suck here. And we get to draw a card when we bring back this Hound Horde next turn. Target a monster on your opponent's grave, special summon. Oh yeah, we can just do that and then we get a draw as well. Alright, bring this back. We get a draw. And we can banish. So it... Free! Actually free value. Look at this deck go, dude. Alright. Ooh, we drew Vendread Evolution. This one, does this banish from grave? Tribute monsters from your hand or field and or send a Vendread from deck to the grave whose total levels equal the level. Okay, I'm scared to activate this in case it forces me to tribute the Executor. Can I just send Slayer for Slayer? Doesn't that work? No, I think I need one more monster. Okay, I don't want to risk this. I don't want to risk that. How big is this? This is probably 2,000, right? Oh no, it's a Goblin Zombie. Fine, we're like winning anyway. It's the Drytron combo. I don't have, okay, I mean, it's probably fine. Alright, let's get a bonus Slayer effect here. Alright, let's add, oh, no more Revenants, Sag. Let's go Streaks, why not? He's very large. Activate effect. Bring back your Goblin Zombie. And then we get to draw a card and banish it. Oh my god, this deck is insane! Look at me go! Actually really fun. It's like actually really fun. This deck is like nowhere near playable in the meta though, unfortunately. Oh my god, dude. Discard a Origin. Special. Use this. Special summon back Slayer, right? If I send Core, it's like 3, 5, 6 exactly. See, I told you I needed the thing on the field, Chai. You didn't believe me. I would have just... This is why I don't listen to you people. I would have literally tributed my field. Okay. Battle phase. Boing. What does this guy do? Oh, gains attack, right? That's fine. Striggs. Battle the opponent monster, draw and discard a card. Why does it draw and discard? Like, why doesn't Striggs at least like... Bro, Striggs should let you, like, draw 2, if anything, honestly. Kind of bad. Oh, they really just refused to make this deck, like, meta, didn't they? I was so excited for this, because this deck is, like, legitimately such a cool archetype. The theme, the lore, oh, it's so freaking cool. Alright, what is the conclusion? Fueled only by his scorching hatred, Revendread Executor swooped through the horde and cut down the false figures of his beloved, one after another. He had been fighting his foe for days that could no longer be counted all alone. and after absorbing Battlelord, his grudge grew bigger with his Vendread powers. It was barely being kept in balance with his human heart. His mind and body had long been pushed past their limits. It was already a miracle that he was able to exist with both life and death in one vessel. It didn't matter anymore if what remained of his humanity faded, or if his body fell apart. Nothing could stop him now. All he had on his mind was to fight and fight and fight. He threw everything he had into this single desire. Then, at long last, the Vendread horde moved no more. The battle had finally come to a close. The rays of the sun broke through the dark veil of the sky, illuminating the Slayer. Just how long had this war waged on for? The city survivors squinted, unaccustomed to the bright light. But oh, what a joyous sight it was! No one ever thought they would see the end of these eternal nights, but here the sun was in all its glory. The Slayer could feel his body fading with the light. He bent over to pick up the locket that had been taken from around his neck. All the Vendreads had been defeated and the darkness that engulfed the city was gone, but at the end of the day, he too was a Vendread. And now it was his time to go. I'm not crying, you're crying. Now that the undead threat had passed with the endless nights, the survivors were able to return to their peaceful lives. However, the grief of losing so many lives left an unmendable hole in their hearts. A lot of the survivors developed a fear of the night and would be plagued by nightmares of the horror they had faced. Unbeknownst to them, a single shadow watched over them from atop the glowing skyscrapers. Just like he had saved the city, the survivors had saved him. Although the Slayer had set out for revenge, he had still saved countless lives. They celebrated him as their hero. They were able to hold on to hope because of this lone fighter, and as the Slayer was slipping into the darkness on that fateful day, the survivors' kind hearts had pulled him back. Thus, he was able to remain in the mortal world, without disappearing like the other Vendreads. If the world ever fell to darkness again, if monsters threatened the lives of the people again, he would surely swing his blade for them once more. But this time, without the resentment he once harbored in his heart. If that time ever came, he would fight not for vengeance, but for peace, to give the people courage and hope when they needed it. Oh, it's Batman! Hell yeah! Batman! Bat chest! Thank you, Vendread Slayer.